A single saved game, the kind that only holds your progress, could take total control of an entire original Xbox. A console built from the silicon up to trust nothing and no one. And the moment the people who pulled that off had it working, they turned around and went hunting for a second, completely separate way in, which makes no sense. Why would a master key leave you searching for another door? This was Microsoft's first console, launched in 2001 at $299, and the company wanted it sealed. Under the black plastic, it was ordinary personal computer parts, a 733 MHz Intel processor, a graphics chip from NVIDIA, a hard drive. At heart, a computer. And that was exactly the problem. A computer can be made to run software. Its maker never approved. And this one was supposed to run only what Microsoft had signed. To stop that, the console inspected itself as it powered on. Each stage checked the next for a signature only Microsoft could produce, and no outsider could forge. No signature, no boot. It would refuse an unsigned disk, and it would refuse even the owner who had paid for it. Early on, a graduate student at MIT named Andrew Huang set out to understand the lock. Using custom hardware, he watched the console's own private wiring as it booted and recovered the secret material it was designed to hide. In 2003, he laid it all out in a book titled Plainly Hacking the Xbox. The inner workings were documented now, but reaching them still took hardware and skill no ordinary owner had. What people actually wanted was a way in that needed no special hardware at all. There was real money behind it. A public contest had put $100,000 on the table for anyone who could run Linux on an Xbox without modifying the hardware. The goal was to unlock a machine you owned with software alone. No open case, no soldering iron, no mod chip, nothing but a file you could send in an email. The way into a box that refuses every disk, every chip, and even its owner is to find the one thing it trusts completely and climb in behind that. This console trusted its own games absolutely. It had to. Any running game got no padded sandbox to play in. It ran with control of the entire machine, the deepest level there is, what engineers call kernel mode. Hide your own instructions inside a game's save data, tucked in past the part that loads your tanks and your high score, and those instructions would run with everything the game had. That is what the crafted MechAssault save really was, a delivery. The weakness lived in how the game read its own saved data. Hand MechAssault a save deliberately built wrong, malformed in one exact way, and instead of restoring your progress, the game could be tripped into running instructions hidden inside the file. It was not that the console trusted every save blindly. It was that this one game had a flaw in the code that read them, and a crafted save reached through that flaw and seized the game from the inside. Other games had gone first. Months earlier, 007, Agent Under Fire had already shown that a doctored save could talk its way in. That trick was already known. The new part was everything these authors built around it. But the control that save handed you was on loan. The hidden code ran only while MechAssault was actually running, and the loan ended the instant the game did. Reboot with an empty tray, and the Xbox went straight home to its own built-in menu, the dashboard, exactly the way it was designed to, and the crafted save just sat on the hard drive, unread. Startup never looked at it. Getting that control back meant one thing only: put the disk back in and load the game up again. Every power cycle, the same little ritual: disk in, game up, save loaded, control regained, and gone again the moment the lights blinked. Load it, lose it, load it again. Two words the people doing this learned to hate: load again. And that was the deal breaker, because they were never really trying to cheat at a robot game. They wanted the Xbox to start their own software. Linux, a second life for the machine, on its own, cold, with nothing in the tray at all. That exact moment, the empty tray power on, was the one moment nothing would read the save because no game was running to load it. A key that only turns once you are already inside the house does nothing for you on the doorstep. They needed a different way in, one cut into the startup itself. The next place to look was whatever was already running in that empty tray moment. The answer was the dashboard, the console's own home screen, the menu you saw when there was no game to play. To put your gamer tag, the menu labels, and the little clock on screen, the dashboard had to draw text, and it drew that text from font files it read off its own hard drive. Buried in the way it handled those files was a second flaw: a font file mangled just so it could stop being letters to draw and become instructions to follow. The part of the console that only knew how to render text could be pushed into doing a great deal more. That was the second break-in, a separate weakness in a separate part of the console and it lived exactly where the save could not reach. The startup, the no-game moment, its own home turf. Put the two together, and you have the full design. The save got you in the first time, and it handed you that borrowed control just long enough to reach the second weakness and set it in place. Once that door was cut into the dashboard, a working setup no longer needed the save at all. The Xbox would carry your code the instant it woke, on its own, no disk, no game, no ritual. That is why it always took two, the save to get in the first time, and the dashboard flaw to make it last. That was the release. It went out in the summer of 2003 under the name MechAssault, credited to 6 people, one of whom signed off as Kermit the Frog. By its author's own account, the goal was Linux, and the release stated plainly that copied game support was never the plan. What it installed was Linux, offered as a choice on the console's own menu. A machine meant to run nothing without Microsoft's blessing now started a free operating system, straight from the dashboard, as if it had always belonged there. Microsoft did not just watch. What it did next survives mostly in one place, a 2005 reconstruction by one of the people who had been inside the fight, told from the stage of a hacker congress, not from any Microsoft record. By that account, Microsoft closes the font weakness with new dashboard code, pushes it out over Xbox Live, and ships it on new consoles. It rolls out a blacklist too, not of the saves, but of the vulnerable dashboard code itself, so the machine learns to recognize and refuse the old weak versions being used to get back in. And it went back and forth. A fix shipped, a way to restore an older weak dashboard appeared, that got blacklisted. Another vulnerable component turned up, that got blacklisted too. Move and counter move, each step documented in the same account. But one weak point, further down the chain, could not be handled that way. And that is where it jammed. The wall that held was hiding in the most ordinary place of all. That same font weakness lived inside a small updater, the piece that let an older console get itself ready to go online, and that updater shipped on retail Xbox Live game discs. In principle, Microsoft could have blacklisted the updater too, the way it had the others, but the Live-enabled games on those discs needed it to run. Blacklist it, the same account explains, and those games would break. So that particular door could not be shut without breaking games already in people's hands. The MechAssault save was only ever the first link, the thing that got you inside long enough to place the second. What made the break last, and what finally boxed Microsoft in, was that separate startup weakness, and the software already sitting on store shelves. You can read the fight two ways, and both are fair. From one side, a company protecting the platform it had sold. From the other, people insisting they owned the machine they had paid for. Some of what that scene unlocked was piracy. Some of it is part of the reason a 20-year-old console is still understood and still runs homebrew today. And the save itself, years later, in 2010, researchers reached for that same save handling weakness again, this time in a forensic lab, using it to read the memory of an Xbox as evidence in a copyright case. The little doorway you once had to open again, every single time, had found one last use its makers never imagined.